Summer routines live or die by how easy they are, and honestly, if something takes too much effort, I'm out. That's why Groons is my go-to. It's my one daily pack of gummies covering my greens, vitamins, and minerals. Plus, it has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber, which is more than 2 cups of broccoli. No mixing powders, no giant pills, no hassle. I just rip open the pack and I'm done. They taste good and they make it easy to stay on top of my health, even when life gets busy. Save up to 52% with the code PODCAST at Groons.co. That's code PODCAST at GRUNS.co.
Security threats are everywhere. But with Xfinity XFi, you're notified of threats to your in-home Wi-Fi network, so all your connected devices are protected. That's simple, easy, awesome. Go online, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit today. Restrictions apply.
We're about to start the Russo-Souhan Show. Just wanted to let everybody know that as we try to grow our network, downloads are becoming very important to us. If you could, when you listen to the show, download it instead of simply streaming it, that would help us out a lot. And usually downloading only requires 1 or 2 more clicks than listening. Myself and my co-hosts across the TalkNorth.com podcast network, thank you for that. I'm Jim Souhan, here to do the Russo-Souhan Show with a very depressed Michael Russo. He owns a condo in a really cool neighborhood in Minneapolis, and I just brought the housing prices crashing down by moving in with my very, what's the word, arrogant French bulldog. I don't think anybody's going to want to live here anymore.
Yeah, this is a beautiful place that you're living in here.
It actually is.
Maybe I should sell my condo and move here.
And the apartment is so big, I can cook dinner while taking a shower.
Yeah. It's funny that you said that. I was going over my Italy hotels today, and one of the hotels looks like, you're like in bed and then you can reach for the faucet on this side and, get dressed by putting your arm out that side. But it should be a fun trip.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Have fun with that. When are you going again?
July 8th or 9th. I can't remember.
Cool. Well, enjoy that.
Yep.
This is the Russo-Souhan Show. This is our hockey show on TalkNorth.com. Check out the website. Subscribe on iTunes. Subscribe to just this show or all the shows. Cheryl Reeve, The Flow. We're bringing your buddy Steven Strom.
Yeah, how's that going? So tell me about that.
Well, Steven is the guy who you befriended, who's a New Jersey college basketball player whose parents lived in Minnesota, so he always grew up identifying with Minnesota sports teams. I wrote a column about him. He's a cool guy, and he is going to do his own show on the network, and he might even be bringing us a sponsor. We'll be talking about that later. It takes a village, Michael.
Yeah.
And Steven
is on his radio show.
Steven's the loudest person in the village.
Yeah, he has a radio show in New Jersey, and I was on it a couple weeks ago, and he does a great job. He has better questions than a lot of radio hosts.
Yeah, and not a high bar,
including yours truly.
Not a high bar, but he's good, and he's a aggressive young guy. It's going to be fun to work with Steven. I had a long talk with his dad today. So that we continue to grow the network thanks to Twill and the Dining Galleria, Fixology Repair, downtown and in the Mall of America, and Tony Hoagland, your State Farm agent in Champlin, HOAGLUND. If you'd like to sponsor the show, JSOUHAN47@gmail.com. Let's get to the news.
Breaking news. I got breaking news right now.
Let's hear it.
After 4 boys, number 5 for Luke and Angela Cahill, friend of the show, was a girl, Tressa.
Wow.
Was born. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Luke.
Yeah.
That doing live shows is sometimes logistically difficult, but the great thing is we got to know people. We really enjoyed having Luke around for those shows.
In fact, the person that texted me that is a friend of the show, Vicky.
Oh, Vicky, yeah. So at some point, somebody's going to be smart enough to have our live shows again and to have our audience showing up and drinking their beer. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it will happen. What's going on with the coaching staff?
Delicate situation, but Paul Fenton wanted to bring in somebody that he really knows and trusts and respects and bring him in. And obviously, as we've reported on and on and on, Craig Leopold has made it very clear that Bruce Boudreau is safe. So the next best thing is an assistant coach. And the next best thing from Paul Fenton's standpoint is one of the coaches was in the last year of his contract. So John Anderson is the odd guy out, and what makes that a delicate situation is this is Bruce Boudreau's best friend. This is somebody that he's known since their days with the Leafs and played together in Houston and all the way up, and tons of stories. So, it's an interesting thing. I mean, the good news is that the transition should be a little easier because Dean Evason is his name. Played 800 games in the National Hockey League. Played with Fenton with the Whalers organization and the San Jose Sharks. Was his coach for 6 years in Milwaukee. But before that, he was actually on a staff for 7 years with the Capitals, 5 of which Bruce Boudreau was there, and 3 of which Bob Woods, the other Wild assistant coach, was there. So there is a relationship there. They like each other. They respect each other. And now it's an oddity. And I know that a lot of fans are construing it like this is the beginning of Paul Fenton putting his guy right on the bench. But the fact that there has been a relationship before should make it a little less awkward. But obviously, Paul said that Bruce was on board today. When I talked to Bruce, he definitely gave the company line and said that he was on board with it, but he feels terrible for John Anderson, his friend. He says he's down in the dumps about it. Now they're going to have to work together.
Interesting. Remind me, how many years left on Bruce's contract?
2.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing going on right now. You have a GM that walks into the organization, and he's sort of forced to inherit the coach. Maybe he would have anyway. Now you have a coach that's sort of forced to take on a confidant of the GM, and then you have Brent Flair, the number 2 of the old GM, who could be on dire straits himself. It's going to be running the draft. I mean,
wow.
And it's just kind of a weird transition. And this is kind of what you get when Chuck Fletcher had all these guys in different stagnant contracts and gave everybody extensions, and it makes for just one of those situations where you're going into the hockey season, you just know that there's all this kind of like inner drama here, and you just wonder if it's gonna, if they get off to a bad start, if all of a sudden it's going to be one of those issues you have to look back on.
And the problem for the incoming coach in this situation is that he may be viewed fairly or unfairly as the general manager's spy.
Yes, stool pigeon, as somebody called him today to me, but Bruce is just going to have to deal with it. He's worked with Dean before, and talking to Bruce, he genuinely likes him. But I would agree. I mean, that's the concern here, probably less so than even John Anderson being replaced. Is that that's going on? But here's the deal. I mean, every GM has his trusted people that you're around. This, as well as I do in professional sports, loyalty is the biggest thing. You get off to a bad start, you have to know that the guy next to you is not putting a shiv in your back. And, I mean, we've seen it throughout the rest of time. I mean, Brian Murray had Brent Flair and Chuck Fletcher and got to know them in Florida, so when he goes to Anaheim, he brings them. When Brian Murray goes to Ottawa, he brings Brent Flair and Tim Murray. When Chuck Fletcher comes here, before Chuck was even hired, I was writing Brent Flair would be his right-hand man. And before Paul Fenton got here, I was writing that Jack Ferraro would be his right-hand man. And I can tell you that most likely Chuck Fletcher in his next job, when he takes one of, I'm sure, many pro scouting opportunities that he has to be, Chuck has opportunities right now that he's going to choose from, but he doesn't want to. His son's going into senior year of high school. He doesn't want to leave town in that year, so he's probably going to take a pro scouting job, and you've got to think right away the obvious choices would be working in Nashville with somebody he trusts, working in potentially New Jersey with somebody he trusts, things like that. I mean, that's just kind of the way it works. Working in, I mean, that's just how the way it works. So,
do you think assistant coaches in the NHL are more or less influential than assistant coaches in other sports?
Yes. Wait, ask the question again. Sorry, I was distracted by a text.
Do you think that assistant coaches in the NHL are more or less influential than other sports?
I look at football, and again, from a total layman's point of view, I mean, I see them as being incredibly influential. I mean, their name or their job, their title is not only coordinator, but what side of the ball they're on.
Right.
And in hockey, I do think that, look, it's a lot of times up to the players. If you have crappy players, you're not going to have a good power play, no matter who's coaching. And the assistant coach, specifically the one that Dean's taking over, doesn't call the forwards out. That's going to be Bruce that calls the forwards out. Bob Woods calls the D out. So I do think that it's less influential from that way, but similar, from a contrasting point of view, they're the ones that put the guys on the ice in certain situations. So when something happens on the ice in a real-time game, it's the coach that made the decision, and either good or bad. So I mean, it's kind of goes both ways. But what's going to be really interesting, and this is a funny story. I told Jason Piant I would tell it on the thing, and if you read between the lines of my story that ran in The Athletic today, you'll know this. Talking to Bruce, and I said, what is Dean going to do, the power play or the penalty kill? And he goes, well, he did the penalty kill in Washington, but I'm just going to have him take over John Anderson's spot and do the power play here. And so I said to him, well, why don't you have Woods do the power play and him do the penalty kill, since Buffalo had the top power play in the league when Bob Woods was coaching that? And there was like silence for 5 seconds. He's like, that's a good question. So I think he went. So all of a sudden we come into camp next year and we see that Bob Woods is doing the power play. It's going to be because I asked him that question. It's good. So what he said is that he's meeting with them at pro meetings next week. He's going to meet with them and he's going to ask them, what do you guys want to do? And maybe Dean says, I would like to do the power play. Maybe Bob says, I'd like to do the penalty kill, but we'll see. But it'd be funny if that, like, my question, like, all of a sudden, like, because you remember when Bob Woods came here, the only reason why he didn't put Bob on the power play was because John coached it the year before and that power play was over 20%. So, so it probably, from Bruce's point of view, he kind of forgot that Bob coached that first-ranked power play in Buffalo.
More league news, more intrigue, the finals, and Twitter questions coming up on the Russo-Souhan Show. Again, check out all the shows at TalkNorth.com, and thanks to our primary sponsor, Twill in the Edina Galleria, TwillMN.com, Twill on Instagram. And I played golf the other day in the Randy Shaver tournament, which was really well done. Raised about $370,000 for cancer research. Randy and his wife do an incredible job with that charity and that tournament. And I wore a golf shirt I bought at Twill. It's a Johnny O shirt. I bought Peter Millar shirts there. I really like the Johnny O line for casual wear. And that's the cool thing about Twill. People know it as a high-end men's clothing store, but you can buy golf shirts, you can buy socks. I bought underwear there recently, most comfortable underwear I've ever worn. Michael's getting really uncomfortable right now.
Yeah, too much information.
So check out Twill in the Edina Galleria. I can highly recommend it.
Hi, I'm Stacy Souhan. I love Twill. Scott Dayton shop in the Edina Galleria. Twill takes the stress out of shopping by offering updated traditional fashion. I know that if Jim goes in there shopping alone, I will like what he buys, whether it's pajamas, flannel shirts, or suits. I plan to recommend Twill to my daughter when she has to buy wedding party gifts and attire. Twill in the Edina Galleria will bring your fashion game to a championship level.
Should I ask boxers or briefs?
No, you shouldn't. We're not going to get into that. So what's going on with Jack Ferraro? What's going on with Garth Snow? What's going on with the Islanders?
Jack, I mean, what a beauty when you talk to that guy on the phone. He's just hilarious. And he's old school, man, turning 74 on Saturday. And who would have thought that, 30 seasons ago, he was the North Stars general manager. And, I heard somebody say today, I didn't even know he was still in the league, but he's been in the league the last 12 years, pretty much as Dean Lombardi's special advisor in L.A. And then Rob Blake he got very marginalized this year. When Rob Blake took over, he only really retained Jack because he had a year left on his deal. Then he essentially stopped calling Jack, is the way I understand it. So when Fenton came here, this is his longtime mentor. I did a story a week or two ago on their relationship, and essentially what happened is when he was working for the Whalers as the assistant general manager back in the 80s, a rink manager, he said, at a local rink asked him to coach a summer league, and a 16-year-old named Paul Fenton and Dean Lombardi, who I think was either a year younger or older, was on that team. And Paul and him struck up a liking, and Paul became the best player on that team. And next thing you know, he helped him latch on to the Whalers. And then when he was here as the North Stars GM, the Guns sold the North Stars to Norm Green with the promise, remember, that they would get a franchise and expansion team in San Jose. The Guns brought him to San Jose to become the first manager there. Then he winds up in Anaheim. So he brings both Fenton and Evison, by the way, to San Jose for that expansion team. That was, by the way, horrendous. And then that ended Fenton's career. and Fenton tried to get a job at UMass Amherst, I believe it was, didn't get it, and he goes to he calls Ferrauer, who's now the GM for the expansion Ducks, and says, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't get this job. And he goes, well, come out here and work for me, and he basically scouted for him. So, it's it's his longtime mentor, and so now you have a guy that's gonna be his senior advisor. I mean, he is going to be the trusted sounding board right now because, look, I mean, I talked to Fenton today, and Fenton's like, I don't know these guys, so I need to have somebody I'm familiar with and respect and the knowledge. And he said that right now he used the term whirlwinded. I'm whirlwinded right now with the amount of hectic stuff that I'm dealing with, and it's just nice to have this guy that's been there, done that can kind of calm me down at times. And so he's going to continue to live in California, but scout the West Coast, which I didn't realize the Wild pro scouting had a total void out there until recently. So he's going to scout that, minor leagues and pros and the NHL. But he's also going to kind of do special assignments and be just kind of a constant sounding board for Fenton. And then they'll revisit in a year whether or not he comes out here.
And what's going on with Garth Snow? Garth Snow never recovered from criticizing the Gophers.
Yeah, and the Nino Niederreiter trade.
Yes.
Garth got fired, so did Doug Waite, cleaned house with Lamoriello there, and now it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I mean, Barry Trotz is going to be a free agent maybe as early as Thursday night. And I know people keep on scoffing at this. I was texting with a player today that still can't believe what I'm saying, that I keep on writing this, but I'm telling you, I think Trotz is going to up and quit. This has been, he and McClellan, from what I understand from multiple sources, don't have a great relationship. And I mean, the writing's on the wall. Brian McClellan was the one that it was extended a couple months ago, and Trotz wasn't, but his assistants were.
Wow.
So a lot of people think that they're going to give they're making Todd Reardon the eventual head coach, kind of similar to what everybody's thinking with Everson and Bruce here. And so, can you imagine Trotz wins the cup and then gives a big middle finger to Ted Leonsis and Brian McClellan, and then what happens a couple days later? Goes and coaches the Islanders.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, that could potentially happen. Now, if Trotz doesn't go there, or even if Trotz goes there, one guy that makes sense to go coach the Islanders in a head coaching or assistant coaching capacity, Scott Stevens. And I think it's going to happen. Incredible relationship with Lou Lamoriello. Their defense is abysmal. And so and again, remember, Scott really left here probably 70-30 family and 30 maybe the team.
Mm-hmm. Did he get along with Suter?
I don't know.
Okay.
So 70. So anyway, but I mean, look, his family was living in New Jersey. He's got an incredible lifestyle out there. Lives in a beautiful home. Loves to hunt, things like that. And Brooklyn's not that far. Although that'd be a pain in the ass commute.
It would be.
You'd have to helicopter in.
Yeah.
So.
Interesting. So much more to talk about, including the finals and your Twitter questions. A lot of good ones we're going to get to today. Thanks again to fixologyrepair.com. John Hedges, our friend who runs Fixology Repair, again, third floor of the Mall of America, and in the Skyway, just south of the Wells Fargo Center across from Dunn Brothers, said that they got their website shop up. So fixologyrepair.com. Go to that website and check out all the cool stuff they sell, especially at their Mall of America location. They have Swiss Army, Seiko, Bulova watches listed at the moment, but they have a lot more than that. They're going to be adding more to their website shop so you can see everything you have even before you go out there. Customers can buy online, or you can just check out what they have before going by the shop and seeing stuff and trying it on. Again, check out fixologyrepair.com.
There are some things in life that you just can't live without. Now, whether it's a special piece of jewelry, a watch, or even your smartphone, you want it in working condition. At Fixology Repair, we are committed to restoring your pieces so that everything works or fits the way it ought to. Watch servicing, chain repair, and broken screen replacements are just a few of the services that we offer at our 2 locations, Mall of America and the Skyway in downtown Minneapolis. Please visit us at fixologyrepair.com or at fixologymn on Twitter to learn more. Mention this ad and get a 10% discount on our services.
Give me your take on the finals.
I think Caps finish it off. I kind of hope that they lose Game 5 just to see them win it in Game 6. But I just think that, and it's kind of exactly what I thought was going to happen this series. I thought that Tampa would lose to Vegas, but I really thought Washington would win. they're so physical and they're so motivated right now and they're so deep. I mean, when Bruce Boudreau was there, I was talking to Bruce about this yesterday or today. When Bruce Boudreau was there, I mean, he didn't have a guy like Kuznetsov. I mean, Kuznetsov might be the best player in this postseason for Washington, not Ovi. He's an absolute superstar. I mean, by the way, even though I think he's a better player, he's kind of the Kaprizov of the Caps, if you remember. They had a hellacious time trying to get him out of Russia. And and this is what Wild fans have to hope, is that he came to North America more mature because he stayed there later. And that's kind of what you hope in 2 years. It's all you can hope if you're a Wild fan about Kaprizov. But this guy's much bigger and more of a specimen. But he's got a heck of a shot. He's probably more, a little more physical than Kaprizov would be. But man, he's just amazing, and he's doing this while hurt, I think. But Oshie's playing like a beast. Their blue line,
Oshie's been great.
It's a game changer seeing Wilson on the top line and Brooks Orpik banging bodies. Niskanen's been awesome. Vrana's been great. Orlov's been awesome. Their fourth line's unbelievable. Smith, Pelly, and Beagle. I mean, they're a deep team, and they're so physical, and you have a motivated Ovechkin. By the way, I haven't even mentioned Backstrom. You have and you have Holtby playing, he was snubbed at the beginning of the playoffs by not even starting the first 2 games. And you have it's pretty unbelievable what we're seeing now, and I just think that they're the ones that are going to kind of let this Vegas, dream by everybody, this magical run that they've had. It's going to have it, it's kind of go belly up right now.
So you're tight with Hitchcock. Did Hitchcock not handle Oshie well, or what happened there?
In St. Louis,
yeah,
it's fun. I talked to Hitch yesterday, but not about that. I don't know that. I remember that playoff series against the Wild. I mean, Oshie was bad. He was. Yeah, and then what happened is they had another loss, and so the core took the blame of it. It's kind of like what's going on with the Wild now. And so Oshie to me looks like a totally different player.
He does.
He's just so physical,
going to the net, so
physical
hard.
and just gritty and so I don't think you can blame that on the coach. I mean, this is just a motivated team right now. That team, they sense it. They peaked at the right time, and again, they just they play on their toes.
Let's get to Twitter questions. I do want to thank Tony Hoagland, Hoaglund, your State Farm agent. He works out of Champlin. I use his app and his website. His staff is very responsive. He insures me. He also insures Mr. Michael Russo.
Hey, Minnesota sports fans. This is your local State Farm agent, Tony Hoagland. I need you all to ask yourselves this question. If you're in an at-fault car accident and you are sued for $700,000, how much of that $700,000 will my current insurance company pay? If you are unsure or can't answer all $700,000, you need to give us a call. State Farm has been #1 in car insurance since World War II and #1 in homeowners insurance since 1964. For a no-obligation review of your current policies, call us at 763-421-4900 or check out our website at www.champlininsurance.com.
Twitter questions from K-Nubs or Knoobs or something. Also Neil Donarski, it looks like this is his real name. A lot of people want Parise and Suter contracts dealt with or changed, which can't happen. But don't you think their impact on the team is irreplaceable? I feel like we saw that especially in the playoffs this year.
I would agree. I totally agree. I don't think they beat Winnipeg, but I think there's a totally different series of suitors in it. I mean, Carson Soucy, I feel for the kid. He was put in a role that was just completely above his head. I thought Sealer was really good in the playoffs. But I think we saw with Brodin, he's not Suter. Ain't Suter, man.
Nope.
And same thing. I mean, who was their best goal scorer in the playoffs? It was Zach. So I totally agree with that. 6 straight years of making the playoffs. I think where people talk about Ryan and Zach with fear is what's going to happen in the next 2, 3, 4 years, or what happens now if some, God forbid, Suter can't come back. But look, if Zach plays the way he did from March 1st on next season, nobody's going to be complaining about that contract.
Right.
He was unbelievable.
And
he had 15 goals in March, didn't he?
It's also 15? One of those things, it's like we like to complain about stuff that we didn't really complain about at the time. It's like when the Twins signed Mauer, everybody was on board and thought it was a great thing. And, this is the Pohlads finally proving they spend money. And then 2 years later, he gets hurt, and it's the worst contract ever.
And to get to the real genesis of the question is the future of the deal. And as you said, I mean, what this has proven to me is that you shouldn't go long term like this. I mean, and now you can in the NHL anymore. You can only go 7 years if you're signing a free agent, 8 years if you're signing your own guy, and it's all because of these type of contracts. But it just inhibits you down the road. I mean, and again, it's not their fault, but because the Wild have Suter and Parise the last 6 years and the next 7, it just inhibits the ability to go out and say, like, well, man, we really want Karlsson, we really want Tavares, you can't do it like that anymore. Once there's a certain amount of pie in now it's going to be hopefully an $80 million payroll or a salary cap, and when they signed him, by the way, I think it was 50 something, and you start giving $15 million to 2 players, and that include, and then a captain that has another 7.5. I mean, it makes it very difficult. Just talk for a second. I want to look real quick at what
Michael is checking to see if
I want to see what the salary cap was when they signed him.
Okay, and Michael's going to check his phone because he has all the hockey information in the world on that phone. Of course, you can read Michael at The Athletic. We both work for subscriber-based publications. Michael appreciates.
Yeah, let people know that, because people seem to think that I'm the only one. Like they don't realize that they actually do subscribe to these.
Yes, Michael.
So when the Wild signed them, it was $60 million and 12.3. You could spend a little over because it was prorated because of the lockout, but it was $60 million when they signed him in 12-13, Jim. So, I mean, remember, actually, the year before it was 64.3. It actually went down. So I guess the point I'm saying is that $21 million was tied up against 3 players, and then when you continue to have that, then again, the cap hasn't gone up appreciably, 64.3, then 69, then 71.4, 73, 75. It just makes it tougher to operate, and that's going to continue. But the hope is that Vegas and the Canadian dollar going up will allow the cap to continue to climb to the point that you get to $90, $100 million, and then it's not nearly as big a deal.
And after the U.S. economy bottoms out and Canada buys the United States, we're going to have hockey in every American city.
Yep.
It's going to be awesome. From Jared Maley, I'm assuming Fenton chatted with Parise, Suter, and Koivu at the media event since they're all in attendance. Has he been in contact with all the other players yet?
I don't think he has. I talked to him today, and he's just swamped. I mean, he left here Sunday, went to the amateur meeting, the combine for a week, then just got back here as in amateur meetings, next week pro meetings. The one thing that he is doing is touching base with every GM. He had 6 more to call today. He wants to get, and I will tell you this, and I said it on the radio yesterday, I've talked to 2 GMs this week and an assistant GM, and they don't want to say that every Wild player is up for grabs, but it is very clear that Fenton, I think as a first-year GM here, is saying, here's everybody, tell me what you value, because I think he's trying to, in his own mind, what can you get for Coyle? What can you get for Stahl? What can you get for Koivu? What can you get for Niederreiter, Brodin, Dumba, Zucker, everybody. So, I keep on hearing these names that everybody's available, but I think it's more him just trying to find out what are the values of his players rather than the fact that, they would really trade Jason Zucker. Matt Dumba's the one that I'm just kind of interested in. I just have this feeling that the Wild, if the money gets a little crazy with Newport, they would look, because there are other right shot guys out there like a Justin Falk or somebody, that you might consider moving, or Ristolainen, that you might consider moving a Dumba because he can get you probably so much in an asset level, center, maybe a right wing and a defenseman, that you might do that. And this is just me, total speculation. But, I if it were me and I was in Paul's shoes, unless I knew 100% that Suter can play by opening night, or even if he was ready, that he's going to look like Ryan Suter, I'd be a little scared to trade Jonas Brodin. Unless, again, on the other token, that you can get another quality left shot guy. To me, if you traded Brodin and Suter was not himself or not ready, just because they have Olofsson, Sealer, just because we loved Sealer last year and Soucy looked great in the regular season, and Olofsson's there, that gives, we call them depth, but they're still very young players. I just think that takes an area of strength for the team and turns it into a weakness. So
And along those lines, Davis Bailey on Twitter asks, lots of talk about upcoming big moves, which makes sense, but how do you see Cunnin, Greenway, Eck, and Sealer impacting next season?
Well, Sealer I could see making the team. Greenway is somebody that, just knowing Paul's history of believing that guys need to develop in the minors, Jordan Greenway hasn't played a minute in Iowa. I could see him starting there, even though when I talk to Bruce, he talks about Greenway like he's on the team. But I could just see Greenway having to start. I just think even if Greenway is unbelievable in camp, Paul's going to be like, nope, sorry, the road to Minnesota is through Des Moines. That's his big motto there. I mean, everybody in Nashville, Philip Forsberg, Victor Arvidsson, everybody, Roman Josi, everybody played in Milwaukee. When the Devils were unbelievable in the 90s, everybody played in the minors there. That is the way that guys like David Poile and Lou Lamoriello believe. And so I just think Greenway needs to be in the minors. He is not ready just because Bruce willed him into being an important part of that postseason. So I don't look at that. Eriksson Ek is obviously going to play a big role in this team, I would think. Cunnin is a guy that we just don't know if he's even going to be ready by camp. Remember, he had a torn ACL, which is usually a 6-month injury, and he didn't have his surgery until exactly a month after tearing his ACL. So I don't know if that's going to delay the process. Technically, the reason why they delay it now is they call it prehab, and the hope is that actually accelerates the recovery. So maybe it turns into a 4 to 5 month thing because you're strengthening the muscles and the ligaments, I guess, around. I'm not a doctor, as you know. So I'm not sure.
Interesting. From Russo Slacks. Oh, no groan. How about that?
Yeah.
You're so tolerant.
I talked at
You're so tolerant.
I talked at Wayzata High School this morning. This really cool journalism class, which, by the way, journalism class is a lot different than when I went to high school. I was telling them in the story. They walk me into this like television studio, and there's a green room and television.
John Millay on our prep show. We went down to do a show at Egan High School, and they have a better TV studio than most TV stations do.
They have a control room. Yeah. And so I told them the story. I remember when I was in Randy Weddle, Mr. Weddle, my mass media teacher's class at Spanish River High School in Boca Raton in the early 90s. And I remember when we first got our first radio board, we were so excited, and we cleaned out his storage closet and turned it into our radio room. It was kind of like this. No soundproofing on the walls, echoes. And I remember us, like when we do a TV show, we would use his desk as the television desk with our little whatever type of VCR camera that we had there. And I was telling these kids these stories, and they were looking at me like I felt like, when I was young, that type of person. But the reason I brought this up is one of the questions, like, do you know who Russo Slacks is? I'm like, met him once. Have I ever told the story about Russo Slacks? About how, I don't know if Russo Slacks even knows this, if I've ever told the story. So Russo Slacks suddenly pops up, okay? And all of a sudden I notice that he's using pictures that are not they're clearly from my Facebook. So I start going through, and I realize I got 2,500 people I don't know, right? Because it was back, you just accept Wild fans.
Yep.
So what happened was, it started to piss me off that he was taking all these pictures off my Facebook. I mean, these private photos, right? So I started, one night I couldn't sleep, and from A to L, I started unfriending people I didn't know. And then my fingers started to hurt. So I decided the only other way to do this is, and this is going to sound horrible, and if you've been unfriended me on Facebook, you have only Russo Slacks to blame. I decided that on everybody's birthday, if I didn't know them, I would just unfriend them. That was my birthday present to them. And all of a sudden, it just doesn't stop. He's taking pictures off my Facebook. It turns out, first of all, his last name starts with an R. And it turns out that I have a cousin that I was confusing for him. So I went through this entire tedious process of getting rid of people that I didn't know. And it turns out that Russo Slacks is a Facebook friend that I actually don't know, but I thought that I did know, and I kept him.
Oh, that's awesome.
So just so you know, if you've been unfriended by me, that is why. And if you are one of the 800 people that are pending, he's the reason why I'm not accepting you.
Wow.
Yeah.
He has so much
I do
power.
have a Facebook.com/Michael Russo hockey page that you're more than welcome to join. But sorry, Mr. Russo Slacks.
From Andrew Siljan, with the hiring of Everson as assistant coach, how does this potentially affect Brewdog long term? I guess we kind of answered
definitely.
that one already. From NH, what 25-year-old or younger 20 goal scorer and possession driver are the Wild going to trade Nino for?
I knew that was going to be the end of that question.
Yeah.
It just sarcastic end to the question.
Yes. From Kevin Gustafson, you have mentioned that Brent Flair most likely won't be retained. Who might Fenton bring in as his replacement?
That's a good question. Maybe Brent winds up impressing to the point that he stays. I will say David Poile, he's conniving, man. The second, I'm told, this is by sources, first of all, that Paul was not allowed in any of the last meetings that they had, like their amateur meetings that are going on now, pro meetings were going on during the playoffs, and Paul was not allowed in them. That's why Paul went to Florida sort of on vacation, is what I'm told, after he interviewed for the second time here. The second he took this job, all access to the Nashville was gone. And then on the day they announce, the day of the press conference, David Poile extends Jeff Kilty and gives him a promotion to Paul's job, promotes Scott Nickel. So these are guys that probably would have been people that Paul Fenton would have wanted to bring here, but what he did is he locked them up and gave them promotions. So, and then I hate to say it, I feel bad saying this, but then the reason why Dean Evison was given permission to come here is I think he was getting fired. I really do. I think Scott Nickel became the GM there and wanted to probably hire his own guy, maybe a Stan Drulia or something like that. And, so I don't think they were going to keep Dean, but maybe I'm wrong. This is what I've been led to believe. And so that's why he's here.
Interesting stuff.
And again, that's nothing bad. This is the same type of thing. New GM wants to bring in his own guy.
From Alec, does reorganizing the personnel help or hurt the organization in the short or long run?
Well, it could take a step back. There's no doubt. As the two questions ago kind of alluded, you trade Nino, there's a chance you're taking a step back, depending on what you can get from him. You traded Dumba, there's a very good chance you're taking a step back. As I've said all along, we could all rip on this core for not being good enough to get them to where they want in the postseason, but they were good enough to get them into the playoffs 6 years in a row, which is not easy in this conference. As Anthony LaPanta and I had a huge debate yesterday on the radio station, there are teams that we all say are more talented than the Wild, but yet every other year they seem to miss the playoffs. So it is not easy to make the playoffs. But the second you take away a Nino, the second you take away a Coyle, the second you take away a Dumba or a Brodin, you could potentially not make the playoffs. So this kid Jack that is the one that brought me to Wayzata today. He pointed it out. It's like every time Brodin's not in the Wild lineup, they seem to lose. I can't remember if this year that held up, but in years past, he's exactly right. And so all of a sudden, Brodin might have sucked in the postseason, but all of a sudden you take him out of the lineup, and that's now you have no Brodin and Scandella, and you're saying, Soucy and Sealer are in those spots if you trade him, if you don't get a left shot D-back. We'll see. One guy that I am interested to see, I think the San Jose Sharks are going to buy out Paul Martin. Do you maybe give him a 1-year flyer at a low $1.5 million and have just a tremendous citizen in the Wild locker room, kind of a Jordan Leopold type? Maybe that's something they do. But again, to expect him to replace Brodin when he couldn't even play in the playoffs down the stretch in San Jose, as controversial as I think that was out there, that could be tough. Actually, he was scratched a lot in the second half at one point. Waivers.
From Mark, does Boudreau like Coyle at center?
I think he'd like him at second line center.
From John Paulson, do you think now that the Wild have their own practice facility, they will adapt having more open practices like that in other teams?
I hope
like
so.
Vegas?
I think it's the right thing to do. I just think that I think these players, for such an incredible hockey market with such incredible passion, these players are so unaccessible to the fans. When do you ever see them? Unless you happen to by chance run into them at a restaurant or a Target, or you go to one of their paid fan signings at one of the local stores. You just don't see them. And I think it's created this incredible atmosphere in the playoffs in Washington and this incredible atmosphere in Vegas. And I will say, and this could probably get me in trouble, but it is a public building. I mean, I don't think they're locking the doors. I know when I just walk in the side door during practice, it's open and there's nobody there looking at my credentials. So, I think it might be one of those things where they, you can just kind of show and maybe they don't announce it's open, but this will probably get me a text from them.
Awesome.
Because I have learned recently they listen to the podcast.
Well, everybody listens to the podcast.
That is true. I'm amazed.
That's why
I wouldn't listen to this.
That's why more people should advertise with us. We reach everybody, I think. From Jake Warren, with Fenton in charge, will we likely see new scouts for European players? How do we choose scouts abroad? Are they former players, managers, etc.?
I would say the European scouts are definitely in trouble because that Paul is going to have his own guys, although the European scout in Nashville, I guarantee, is going to be locked up because he was tremendously respected. But those guys in Europe with this organization, Pavel Ruta was in Florida when I was there, so he is Chuck Fletcher's guy, right? Pavel Ruta, who he looks like Alexei Yashin. I would think that he's in trouble. Rickard Pearson, I don't know. He's somebody that was hired late in the game. But my guess is those guys would certainly be in trouble. And then the local scouts, we'll see. It depends on how deep. They're the easiest guys to move because even if they were extended, their contracts, scouts don't make a ton of money. So I could see the pro scouting staff being completely revamped in a lot of ways. Jamie Hislop, their guy in Calgary, was, I thought, supposed to retire last year. And next thing I know, he kept on seeing him. I think this is why I think there was a hole, is I think they made a deal with him, please don't retire, but just you don't have to go anywhere other than Western Canada. And so that could be, but I could see them doing that. But it's hard. If Guy Lapointe was right in front of you right now, it's hard to fire that guy. First of all, he's a Hall of Fame defenseman, and second of all, the guy's he's the most personable, hilarious human being ever. It might be hard to just say you're gone. You might marginalize him like maybe Jack Ferraro was in L.A. But I can see local scouts, the amateur guys, maybe losing their gig.
A couple more minutes in the Russo Show, a couple more good Twitter questions we want to get to. Thanks again. Check out twillmn.com, fixologyrepair.com, and Tony Hoagland, your State Farm and Champlin. You can Google Tony, Hoaglund. And I know that certainly the Twill and the Fixology Repair websites have lots of cool stuff on them for your perusing pleasure. From Derek G. Johnson, what are your thoughts on Maxi Domi? Domi and number 5 pick for Brodin, Ennis and number 24 pick. That's what he's proposing.
Absolutely no way that's happening.
From Tanner Romanowski.
Sorry, Derek. I know I like you, but actually, I'm almost saying that from a standpoint that I saw Craig Morgan, their beat writer, ripping on people that were saying that they would never trade Domi in a 5th for anything. So if you're getting this off rumor sites, just be careful what you read this time of year. Yep. These people invent everything. Yep. That's the scary thing right now with the Wild is that because everybody allegedly is available now. This is like a gift that keeps on giving for the rumor guys. They just make crap up and then leave the beat writers having to deal with the repercussions.
From Tanner Rimanowski, what cigar would Michael recommend from Surdyk's?
Tanner was my cashier at Surdyk's the other day. I'm impressed that you could see that. I thought Tanner had a private usually
right
if
here.
You don't follow somebody with a private thing, you can't see him. Oh, so that's how it happens?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
I don't know how anything works, but he follows me and his question showed up. And
Tanner is the person that I was at Astor Cafe once, and Anthony LaPanta is like, you got to follow this kid. He's a big fan. He goes to, I think he went to high school with Anthony's son. So I've just followed Tanner for probably 6 years, even though I've only met him twice for each 5 seconds.
Astor Cafe is great, by the way.
Yeah, oh my God, that
Such
patio.
a great place. Love that place. And now I'm going to be stalking you there all summer.
I know.
Try to sound happier about it.
It's gonna be exciting.
Pretty little city built on a hillside. Music in the bars and fire in the sky. We went to the beach and it was covered in ice. And I used to call it home. but the world won't forgive a winner.
Holiday tips and fun facts from Paul, Kristen, and Dexter at Total Wine & More.
There's something celebratory about Bubbles. Our ridiculous selection of champagne and sparkling wines will make the holidays pop.
Who couldn't use a friendly wine elf? I can help you find the perfect bottle at just the right price.
Deep frying a turkey this year? A rich and earthy Chateau Neuf de Pape would make an interesting pairing.
Whether you're entertaining or just bringing the wine, we'd love to share our always low prices and ridiculous selection with you this holiday. Now offering same-day delivery at TotalWine.com. Cheers!
From the kids to Aunt Sue, keep your whole family connected on all their devices with crowd-pleasing gig speed internet from Xfinity. Now that's simple, easy, awesome. Learn more about gig speed internet or other popular plans, now with even more speed. Enjoy faster downloads and a better streaming experience today. Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit an Xfinity store for a great offer. Restrictions apply. Actual speeds vary and not guaranteed.